What's going on, everybody? So today on the podcast, like I said, we're chatting at Universal Studios Florida or Universal Studios Orlando, however the heck you're supposed to say it. We were there on June 3rd, which was the first day of the annual pass holder preview, and we had mixed feelings, I think, about it. Not mixed feelings, like we both had an okay time, but there were a bunch of issues. There were things that needed to get solved. It was the first reopening day where there were actual, like a plethora of guests in the park. And so clearly there were issues. However, it's been about a week or so now, right? Yeah, it's been about a week. No, 5 days.
No,
4 or 5 days.
It's been a week since cast member previews, but it's been 5 days since we were there. We were there on Wednesday. We're filming this on Monday night.
Yeah, 5 days. So tomorrow will be 6 days, almost a week. And it seems like, according to the internets, things have gotten a bit better. So let's just start with our initial thoughts. Pete, what did you initially think going into Universal Studios reopening? Like, what were you expecting?
Well, it's funny because I've talked about this now on a few shows. If obviously you're not familiar, I do a few shows for WWNT. One of them being Park Center, which is a 30-minute show to cover 7 news stories. I went on a 22-minute rant on a 30-minute show about Universal's opening day. It was that Wednesday night, and we were there all day Wednesday, so it was very fresh. But listen, with anything in life, I think I am a huge optimist. And I think you saw that, Josh, when we were there in line. I thought it was going to be the best day of our lives. We were going to have so much fun, and parks are reopening, and I was so excited.
Absolutely.
And then I just got slowly just dinged down throughout the day. There were just a little thing here, and then a little thing there, and then that's not so great. It was a struggle, and I said, and I made it public. I put it on my Twitter account, which you see right there. Well, that's not my real Twitter, but my Twitter account's your WDW guy, where I put my thoughts on this. But I just started making it public that I was a very rough day. It got a little rougher and rougher as the day went on. The weather didn't help. The team members not really knowing what was going on, which isn't really their fault. That probably comes from the top, but it was a rough get. And I said, after the end of Wednesday, I don't think I'll ever go back to the parks until Halloween Horror Nights. That was my takeaway, is that it is not worth going to Universal if they keep things the way they are.
Which it seems like they have been fixing it, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, to their credit, it seems as though they've been addressing some of the things I talked about on that initial Wednesday night. So, and we could talk about way more of this throughout our entire show tonight, but I might backtrack, or might, walk that backwards and, give it another shot and see what goes on. Because I say, like, you could have a bad day at Disney, and I tell people, like, everyone has a bad day here and there. So
sure,
who knows? I might go even tomorrow. I don't even know. But it was a rough Wednesday for me personally, from my experience. We can get more into that later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would agree with most of that, I think. Doctor, I concur on most of your thoughts.
You concur?
I concur.
Yes, excellent.
When we first started, it was very exciting. If you guys haven't seen the vlog, you can check out the vlog. We released our vlog from that day this morning. It's live, and it has a pretty good overview of the way we felt throughout the day. And it's funny, if you watch the blog, in the beginning, we're like, we're going to Universal, it's going to be amazing. And then, we're like, we're cheering. And by the end of it, we're like, we'll talk about it. That's kind of how the vlog ended. It was like, I don't want to talk about it right now. We'll talk about it later. But I was the exact same. Going into it, I was very excited. I was happy to see what was going on. It seemed like, from all the announcements and everything that they'd been doing, they were 100% prepared. They were ready to go, and things were going to be great. And it seemed that way all the way up into the queue. We parked in the parking garages. It was super easy. We went through the health screenings. It was super easy. We went through City Walk. It was super easy. Now, I guess preface this with, we had 8:45, 9 a.m. Reservations. You had to have a reservation to get in to Universal Studios on June 3rd or June 4th as an annual pass holder. We had 9 a.m. reservations, or you could have stayed at the hotel. Then you would have gotten a ticket in. Or had a ticket while staying at the hotel. They would have let you in on those 2 days. So we had our reservation at 9 a.m. So we got there, like 7:45-ish, something like that is when we parked. Yep. By the time we were standing in line at Islands of Adventure, which I feel like we should have done Universal Studios Florida first, because annual pass holders got in an hour early.
Which we did not know, and it would be nice if they would have told us that. But
yeah, that was not announced. So we started seeing pictures of people in the park.
That was the beginning of the frustration.
Yeah, while we're standing in line at Universal Studios or at Islands of Adventure, and so we were kind of like, wait, what do you mean they're already in? How does that work? That doesn't make any sense. But still, it was fine. We were in line with some nice people. We had a conversation, and then a cast member or a team member came out and started telling everybody the rules. That she had a microphone and went through this whole spiel about the safety precautions that they had inside, the things that they required everybody to do, and just what the general day was going to look like, and that they were excited to have everybody back. And then we all got let into the park, and it was super fluid. It was super easy. It was just like, here's my QR code, here's my pass. They were supposed to check ID. Nobody did.
Except for the second go around. I left the park and came back in an hour later, and they checked then.
Okay, because I didn't even get checked when we went into Universal Studios proper. They didn't even check my ID.
Yeah, so I left when for full disclosure, when we're there, we do a lot of vlogging, but also other video content. And Josh ran off through some video stuff where I had like a half an hour to kill. So I left to go check out City Walk, and when I came back in, that's when they demanded the regular pass, your QR code, and an ID to match all three. Which I think that is because the lines had shortened to that point, and they went to the official rules, quote unquote, at that point.
Okay. But still, in the morning was super easy. There were a number of people, but it wasn't too crazy. Now, the first bit of our frustration came from we went into the park, we had our tickets scanned, we opened up the app, which I have since joined Universal's online. I applied for it and apparently got approved as part of their help committee to try to help them with the park.
Yeah.
And one of my big complaints was that the user interface and the user experience of their app in regards to the virtual line experience is downright terrible. It is not good. It's not easy to figure out. It's buried in a hamburger menu off to one side. If those of you who don't know what this is and have no idea what user design is, a hamburger menu where generally the three lines you'll see on a mobile website or something, you click it and a menu will pop out from one side of the phone. So everything's buried under there. So to get to it, you have to go hamburger menu. It pops out from the left. You have to go to the virtual queue thing. Then that pops up another screen. Then you have to click another tab to show the attractions that are available. Once you click into that tab, then you can request a time for that particular attraction. So once we get all that, we open it up because we're like Hagrid's, right? Everybody wants Hagrid's. Let's go to Hagrid's. So we go and try to get a line for Hagrid's. Well, it says 1 o'clock. I click it. It just error. It doesn't say it's not available. Just says error, will not work. It took us from entering Islands of Adventure all the way through Port of Entry, all the way to the right, all the way almost completely through the Dr. Seuss area until we finally got one of them to work. And mine was at 4:30 to 5, I think.
Well, the thing is, we had to change our party. We were both trying for a party of two. That way, whoever gets it, we could get both of us.
I forgot we did.
I like to compare this to getting a boarding group at Universal Studios, if anyone's ever done that or read about it, is that once you're in the park, you can
mean
sign
Hollywood
up
Studios.
For
you said Universal
line.
Studios.
So we both tried to get a party of two. And the thing is, whoever got it first, we were going to use that. The party of twos were all gone within minutes. And we were probably one of the first 40 to 50 people in the park at the opening. So we were talking as we were walking, and I said, let's both try ones and see if we can get close. And I saw that I got a 1 for the last boarding group of the day, which was 420 to 450. And then you, Josh, got it a second later for 430 to 5.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. But we had pretty much made it. We were probably about 100 yards from the line of Hagrid's when we actually got the confirmation. We were passing Mythos, I believe, as like you said, leaving the Seuss land.
Yeah. Now here's to add to the frustration for the day, something that I have since learned from people on Twitter. Supposedly, you can start applying for these virtual queues in City Walk.
Yeah, which is super annoying. Yeah.
You don't even have to scan in with your ticket. Just as long as you're in the geosphere of wherever they've set this perimeter, you can start getting this stuff. So I'm guessing that's why they went away so quickly, is because everybody at Universal Studios proper was getting them. Everyone outside in City Walk was getting them. It wasn't like Disney where, no, you need to be in the park in order to get it. which I think is a way better scenario. So we'll try that again.
Which I don't think that's a good scenario because I kind of like the Hollywood Studios version where you have to be in the park because
that's what I'm saying
doesn't reward anyone who got there early. You and I got there early. We waited in line. We parked early. But people who showed up an hour and a half behind us who were just walking to City Walk can get a Hagrid's before you and I.
No, I know. That's what I was saying. I was saying Hollywood Studios is better.
Oh, okay. I thought you said I appreciate this system, and I was going to get a little upset.
I could tell. I was like,
I'm staying very calm because honestly, I came into this podcast tonight and this show tonight in a good mood, and now that we're starting to rehash it, I'm starting to get the feelings back.
Triggered.
And I'm taking deep breaths. I might have to leave for a drink from time to time. But yes, go on.
So that was the first bit of frustration, and then from there we walked through Hogsmeade. That was great. At this point, the crowds were totally fine. And the crowds were mostly fine all day.
I will say that the crowds were never that crazy. I have a few theories on that, but I don't think crowds were ever an issue throughout the day. I'll give them credit there.
And especially after it rained, we'll get into this a little bit when we get into dining in the next section, but after it rained, when we were having lunch, the crowds thinned to just nobody. We went over to Universal Studios proper, and it was just a ghost town. I have a whole bunch
and again,
of
I'll save this, but I think a combination of rough weather that day and also realizing that all the virtual lines were pretty much gone by lunch. So if you didn't have those rides you wanted and you kind of walked around, you could have went home. There wasn't really much else to do. There's not like there were shows running. All the big rides had virtual queues. If you didn't get the ones you wanted and you already ate, everything opened at either 8 or 9 a.m. By 12 and 1, the park thinned. You had really bad weather and you knew that you weren't getting on the rides you wanted. It's like going to Hollywood Studios and they're without fast passes and you see that Tower of Terror is gone for the day, Slinky's gone for the day, the Star Wars rides are gone for the day, and Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway is gone for the day. And it's like, well, we can go on Star Tours or Alien Swirling Saucers.
Yeah.
There's no shows, but there's a few dining that's open here and there. It's just, you're like, well, we did everything by 12 or 1. You're going to go home.
Yeah. 100%. And that's, I think you're right. I think it's 100% accurate as to what happened. By the time we got into Hogsmeade, we went on Forbidden Journey. It was a literal, just straight walk on. This is one place that the new locker situation at Universal started to rear its ugly head, to the point of that I'm actually buying a new camera bag specifically just for when going to Universal, and because my other bag is humongous, and I actually had a straight up like huge bruise for 2 days on my shoulder from carrying this bag around. But for those who don't know, most of the attractions at Universal, they require you to go get a locker and put your bags in that locker before you even get in line for the ride. My camera bag was too big to fit into the normal lockers. Now, you may be saying, well, but they have large lockers at Universal, and you would be correct, except on Forbidden Journey, because it has the old locker system. They have yet to upgrade it to the new locker system where there are small and large lockers. But I also caveat that as to when they do that, it's gonna match the system everywhere else in the park, where those regular size lockers are free while you ride, but if you got a big bag, it's $2. It's $2,
which is such
every time.
Nonsense. It is such malarkey because
malarkey.
Most of your tourists have backpacks.
Yeah.
And my backpack, which was half empty, barely fit into that locker system.
Yeah,
barely.
I had to like.
And also, just backtracking through that, their locker system works on a fingerprint scan, which everyone is touching all day long.
Which
no
I think
one
is
wiped
funny.
before after I left that I saw when I got there. And when I went to go retrieve it, I had to just hope it was clean to retrieve my bag by putting my finger on a scanner that thousands of people are touching all day long.
Now, what's interesting about that is at the ticket booths, Universal also does the finger scan just like Disney does. They weren't using them, and they weren't using them specifically because it isn't sanitary. So there was apparently a miscommunication here between somebody in ops who was running the tickets and somebody in ops who was running the lockers, or they just figured, well, we can't open the lockers without it. So
yeah, I get it. If like there's a flaw in the program and it's an old program, you can't do it. But you should literally have a dedicated person next to every scan then to use some kind of cloth or napkin or something, or at least to put me at ease. And I'm a very laid back person about this, and we've talked about it in the show. I think that wearing masks in a park in the open air are silly, and you should be wearing masks when you're in close quarters, and it's the opposite. But now in a fingerprint system, like I walk up, I just saw a guy put his finger on this, and I have to just walk up and go, well, I guess I'm rolling the dice because I want to go on Forbidden Journey and there's no wait, and touch a scanning system. And when I come out of the ride, I don't know when it was last cleaned. It makes no sense that those are the places to have cast members at wiping every time.
Yeah, and we'll get more into that in a little bit when we get into the safety precautions area, because there were a number of things like that at Universal Studios Orlando that I noticed that were a little annoying. From there, we went on Forbidden Journey. It was great. Then we went on Flight of the Hippogriff. It was great. We continued to walk around the park, looked at the Jurassic Park construction, walked through the Jurassic Park area, went on King Kong. It was a total straight walk on almost. That was the first time we had to wait for, I don't know what it was, 5-10 minutes maybe. But that was the first time we actually got to experience the spaced out queue.
If I could interject, and I don't want to cut you off.
You can interject.
Just to kind of give people some background, is that when I came to waiting Kong, I thought did a great job where there was plenty of social distance markings.
Yeah,
so
everywhere.
We knew where to stand 6 feet apart. Because I have other issues later on when we talk where there were no markings on very popular rides. But this was very clearly marked. Even if you thought 6 feet was ridiculous, it was marked. You could hang out. You knew you were 6 feet apart. You got onto the ride. It was every other row. You only sat with your party. And even the goggles you used for the ride, the 3D glasses, were cleaned and handed to you one at a time by cast members, not just like grab and go. You know, there was a clean set, sanitized, and handed to you individually one at a time.
Which is fantastic.
So I thought they did a great job on this ride with the restrictions.
Yeah. And this was our first time experiencing it. We experienced it a couple more times where we had to stop and wait, but this was the first time, and it was good. The only problem that I found, which again, we'll get more into safety precautions because we experienced a little bit more of this later, was there's a couple of twists and turns and corners and things where they have the marker set up. You can't see the party ahead of you, so you have to keep looking around corners to see, are they still there? Is there anybody? Where do we go? Where do we stop? Other than that, that's a very minor issue. It's not even a big thing at all. So from there, we walked through Toon Lagoon. Pete got his picture with Spider-Man in the Marvel area, and then
for science.
Absolutely for science. And then we went back to the front, and I did the video walk around that's currently on YouTube right now. And that's when Pete had his experience that we'll talk about in just a second. So in order to get into this experience, let's go ahead and jump into dining. So Pete, set the stage here. I have left. You're on your own.
Right, so obviously, if you guys follow the channel, Josh does amazing full walkthroughs of parks, which is great to turn on while you're sitting at your office. But it's also in 3D binaural audio, and it's in like 17K. If that's a real thing. He has a camera system. I'm convinced that he should have 4 minions following him around. But he went out to do this. So I said, okay, you go do your thing. I will, for me, and again, not everyone was like this, but I woke up at 3 a.m. Maybe my body was excited for the day, but I couldn't go back to sleep. We had an early start. I picked up Josh at 7. Like I said, by the time we got to the park, it was 7:30. Going through the thermal scans. By the time we got into the park in line, it was 7:45, and then they opened the doors at 9 on the dot, which we were shocked. We thought they were going to open early, but apparently it was only Universal proper to open at 8, and we waited till exactly 9 on the dot to get in. But it is what it is. So at this point, I've been up for 6 hours, and I was hungry. I didn't eat yet. But I said, I'll wait till lunch. Most restaurants open at around 11 a.m. for lunch. And this is where my frustration began, is that I started asking team members while Josh was walking around filming, hey, where's a good spot to sit down and have a nice meal? So just looking for real food. I've been eating, a lot of Uber and DoorDash during the quarantine. I wasn't really looking for theme park food. I just wanted to have real food and something nice. We could sit down, me and Josh could talk about the morning, kind of recap and go into our plan for the afternoon.
Yep.
No one knew where to go. No team member that I talked to had a good answer. Some of them said, there's popcorn over here, or this I think opens at this time. You might want to check this out. Someone actually said City Walk. Someone said the Fantastic Four, which is just serving what I call cardboard pizza. So maybe I'm being particular, but I just wanted a place that serves real food. So I was told that Mythos is a good restaurant. Plus, they have a sign hanging outside that says like voted 4 years in a row. Really good theme park food.
Which is funny. That sign has been there for years, and it's dated like from an article
so
like 10 years ago. It's hilarious. It's pretty funny.
So dated. So and you said, hey, it's worth checking out. So
It's fun.
I said, you know what? I've tried 4 teammates or team members, whatever they call them there, and no one had a good answer. Even one person literally radioed to someone else because she said her phone couldn't find anything, and after 4 minutes, she didn't have anyone answer her back. So I said, I'm just going to walk it myself and figure this out. So I call, and while I'm walking, I said, let me just call reservations. So I call Universal Reservations. And even the guy on the phone, I said, hey, can I get a reservation for Mythos? He goes, oh, we're sorry, that's not open today. And I said, oh, man, all right. Well, I said, can you make another recommendation? I'm looking for just a nice lunch where I could sit down and have real food. We're not looking for like fast food or theme park food. Just like sit down and have a nice meal. And he's like, oh, man, sorry, you're out of luck. Maybe grab some popcorn or hit another cart or something. And that's what the guy at the reservations hotline told me is good luck and to try a cart. When I said I'm looking to spend money in your theme park, and he has all the resources at his disposal in front of his computer, is I'm being told, good luck, go to get some popcorn or a pretzel for my lunch where I'm looking to spend money at your park. That blew my mind the most. Just coming from customer service and coming from hospitality that is the worst answer you could tell anyone ever, which kind of set me off. But I said, all right, maybe he's having a bad day.
It set you off. I was recording binaural audio, and I called you right when I finished. I put the phone to my microphone in my ear, and I have a recording of Pete's just live, raw reaction
was
to
not
all
happy.
of this.
I didn't want to take it out on him, but when I hung up the phone, I was very upset because what only multiplied to that is that as I met up with Josh after this phone call, we walked past Mythos, which he told me was closed that day, and not only were they not closed, they were wide open, already serving, and already had a line out the door for just getting reservations, which means the earliest reservation we could get was 2 hours later.
Yeah.
So now I am fired up. I have not eaten anything since 3 a.m. This is now 11 a.m. I only wanted to spend money in your park more than a pretzel or a popcorn or a cardboard pizza, and you couldn't let me spend money. You couldn't let me eat a meal. You couldn't give me information. And then walking past Mythos after I specifically tried to get a reservation, the reason I called you, which you told me it was closed, was a big push. And I know there was some hanger in what I was going through.
There was some hanger.
It just blew my mind. It blew my mind as a consumer.
Yeah. Well, and the annoying thing about it is, when the reservation guy tells you basically good luck, like, I was going to make the joke that like, hey, he wasn't not giving you good customer service. He was sending you on a quest. It's part of the experience.
I totally forgot.
Oh, no. What else?
Before I even called him, I was so desperate. I left the park while you were walking and did a full lap of City Walk.
Oh, yeah.
Because someone told me City Walk might be open. Go check there. And not a single restaurant on City Walk opened until 4 p.m. So I did a full lap of City Walk, and not a single restaurant was open. So I came back into the park to find Josh, make this phone call, and then obviously you already know what happened on the phone call, and then I saw Mythos. So I had walked in the rain. It was ugly. I was hot. I was hungry. Did a full lap of Islands of Adventure and City Walk to find no restaurants open. Yeah. And then I run into Josh and I make this phone call. So I was fired up.
Yeah, and
maybe more than I should have been, but again, I don't see why I should not be upset because I'm trying to spend money. I just want to eat real food and not fast food in a theme park.
Well, and I think
what elevated it too, and I'll add this to the story, and I'm sorry if I'm going on a tirade here, but is that a woman behind me when I went over to that Fantastic Four place because I thought it was a restaurant. Someone said, "Oh, the Fantastic Four restaurant's open," and I had never got in, so I said, "Maybe it is a restaurant. It doesn't sound like one, but I'll go." Which was just pizzas and disgusting.
It's counter service, right? It's just basic counter service.
Counter service, not what I was looking for.
Yeah.
But a woman behind me, as I was upset as well, and I went in to look, and I stopped and I listened. Is that she said she had 2 kids with dietary or food allergies, dietary restrictions or food allergies, and the cast member even there said, I don't really know what to tell you, but check the app, which I had been checking all morning looking for a place. knowing there was no information, and you already talked about the app interface. So to hear, and again, I'm just an angry guy who wants to have lunch with another guy, and we could rough it. But if I was there with kids who had dietary restrictions or food allergies, and I can't find them food, like, what are you doing?
Well, and the responses, it's the responses, right? It's the unprepared responses of like, hey, I have kids who have dietary restrictions. Where can I go, or what do I need to do? I mean, I worked at AMC theaters, right? Like as my first job when I was 15 years old, and even there, we had to go through this insane training for just dietary stuff, and that was for selling Diet Coke and popcorn. Like, I don't understand how a cast member working in even a counter service restaurant doesn't have access to like, oh, you have dietary restrictions. Well, here, let me give you this special pre-printed menu that can give you dietary restrictions. You know, like Disney does this kind of stuff. But anyway, that
remember
blew
the joke
my mind.
I made is that I said if this was Disney, they would have no rides running, but they would have 19 restaurants open for you to go spend your money.
Yeah, maybe Disney Springs. It's what they did.
A knock at Disney, but it's so true. Is that you'd have so many food options, and there might not be a single ride running. But here, I couldn't find a place to spend money. Yeah, it's as if they were like, "Don't spend your money," and all I wanted to do was eat a nice meal.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, there's two things to this. So one, I was actually going to say that when you were talking about, imagine if you were at Disney Hollywood Studios and everything was gone, fast passes wise, you want to go home. And I was like, well, maybe, except that there's at least 2 really good bars and lounges that I thoroughly can just go sit at for 3 or 4 hours and enjoy myself in.
Maybe even more than that.
A plethora of restaurants. Like it's huge. It's on that end, right? But yeah, there's at least 3. So like Baseline Tap House, Tune In Lounge, and the Brown Derby. Like I'll sit at all day. I don't really care. Those are amazing places. Universal Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios Florida don't really have that. They've got Finnegan's and Universal Studios Florida, but that's about it. There's nowhere at Islands of Adventure that I'm like, hey, I'm going to go over here, grab a drink, and hang out. Doesn't exist. What I was going to say, though, is the thing that made, I think, all of this so much more frustrating is, had you talked to a cast member, called in, they said, sorry, our sit-down dine-in restaurants are not open today because we're still figuring out the menu stuff. They're going to reopen Friday. They're not open for the preview. Okay, that sucks, but sure, right? But they didn't. They just said, sorry, they're not open at all. We're not taking reservations, when they are. And, oh, sorry, there's nowhere you can eat like that. When, in fact, in Islands of Adventure, there's 2 places that you can eat like that. There's Nabisco Grill and there's Mythos. And both of them were open that day. Anyway, so it all came out to, who did we talk to? We talked to, I don't remember her name. We talked to a team member.
Before I talked to her, I saw on the door that Confisco's opened at noon, and I knew that was my last resort.
Got it.
But I was looking for something that opened at 11, and I started searching at 10:30. So for me, when I started searching at 10:30, that's the time I think you went on your hike.
Yeah, right. My hike.
You're filming. Yeah. I called it a hike, but you were filming.
My walkabout.
You were working, and I was searching for food like a good nomad. You were out. We make a good team because I'll make sure we're fed, and you make sure we get work done.
Yeah, I was hunting, also known as collecting content, and you were gathering.
and I could not gather. But I was like, man, it's only like 10:20, and this is noon, so this is the worst case scenario,
it was bad.
Which we ended up doing. And I will say, and I've said this on every show that I've been on since then, is it was a great meal. I thought the food was good.
Sure.
I thought that the service was top notch.
Oh, the service was incredible.
Waitress. The service was so good, super attentive. Man, I mentioned her name on another show, but it's been almost a week now. I want to say it was.
I don't remember. It's in the vlog.
Maybe Michelle. Maybe.
Her name is in the vlog. She's actually in the vlog. When we sit down at Confisco, she walks.
And then I won't even guess because it's been a few days, and this is me literally going back to that day. But not only that, managers stopped by, people checked in.
I think 2 managers stopped by.
Everyone was so nice. Again, and I'll give them credit. You can kind of know. I worked in the service industry for over 12 years. You could tell even they kind of know what's going on because even when we got in, they had walked the entire line of people who were waiting for 40 minutes through the restaurant to the bar check-in on the other side of Confisco's. If you know Universal's layout at all, there's a little bar check-in on the other side.
Yep.
Just to bring us back outside and have people sit outside because they said the interior was closed that day.
Yeah.
And there was only, I think, 7 or 8 tables outside over there. So I wasn't sure how they were pushing the line. And then as we were eating, it started to rain and people started to kind of move up from the tables pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We had a nice umbrella, so we were set. But it was very, you could tell it was kind of thrown together that Universal wanted to get open, and I think they left hospitality and dining kind of to just figure it out.
I think they left them high and dry. Yeah, I think management just kind of went, figured out paper menus. Here's a bag from the store to use for your mask. Figure it out.
And they did, honestly, like I said, once we were inside, they did the best they could, and it was some of the best service I've received. They were all over. They were on top of us. Great conversation. Really, I can't speak enough of the service, with especially how upset I was coming into this meal. But it was just a shame of what it took to get there. And I think that's where they dropped the ball.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I was suggested Confisco's by Bart Scott, who I think had been there, and he had suggested it from somebody else, and just everyone talks really highly about it. It was really, really good. We had a vastly minimized menu comparative to their normal menu.
Yes.
There were 3 sandwiches, 2 main entrees, and 4 starters you could have chosen from. There it is, right there, folks. Here, wait, let me go to your full screen here. Let's go to Pete's full screen. There it is. So the Confisco Grill looks like you have Trader Wings, chicken quesadilla, loaded nachos, and hummus for the starters. Salad. Oh, there were 2 salads. I didn't realize. Southwest chicken salad and a Caesar salad. Entrees, sweet and sour sticky ribs, chilled tuna noodle bowls. Is kind of blurry. And then we had the handheld, which are the sandwiches, which is the pork belly banh mi sandwich, the Hearthstone baked chicken sandwich, and the Chipotle chicken wrap. And then there's a full drink menu available in the back. I had the banh mi sandwich. You had the Hearthstone chicken sandwich. What is the whatever the?
I did. I was going to get the Chipotle chicken wrap, and then she informed me that it was just a cold wrap that was pre-made, and I thought for $15. That's a little ridiculous. So for $1 more, I could actually have a nice, freshly made chicken sandwich.
And it looked good. And it was good, right? You enjoyed it?
And it was good. I honestly had no qualms or issues with the sandwich. Again, but I think we both agreed that both of our items could have been $5 less, and we would have been a little more happy with it.
Well, that's what I put in the vlog. I put that the food was good, but it was 25% overpriced. So my banh mi sandwich was $19.
Yeah, 25% is right about right. For my $16 sandwich, I think it would be more appropriate at, say, $12, which you're dead on right there. Yeah. And then you had the banh mi, which was $19. Yikes,
it should have been about $15.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the drinks were even the same. I think the margarita, the jalapeno margarita I had was $13. I think that was about an $8 or $9 margarita.
The jalapeno margarita was $13. Yeah, that would have been way better at $9.
Yeah.
And I had the regular margarita, but I also had a mule because I was like, hey, I'm having a morning.
That was the largest mule, because mules are normally served in some form of copper or metal mug, and this was in like a Rainforest Cafe science glass that had like the big bubble.
Thank God I got that.
It was humongous. But yeah, I think overall the food there was really good. I really want to go back when, in like 2 years when all this is over and we're back to normal menus.
I really hope before that. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, so do I, but who knows? Because I really would love to experience the full menu, and I hope that is not the full menu. If that's the full menu, then I'm 99.9% sure that is a
no, it's for sure a COVID menu, and also because we watched, I said thank you for watching this, and besides just us, and we're gonna have positive notes too, and I promise I'm not all negative. But there was a fun fact we learned that day, and I'm pretty sure you learned it too, is that Confisco's is short for confiscate.
Oh,
and since you're at the port of entry, is that what the restaurant does is they might confiscate your items that you're trying to sneak into the port. Yeah. So they have items hidden throughout the restaurant that are from every single land. So you might see some bones from Jurassic Land. You might see perhaps some Harry Potter paraphernalia inside. You might see some comic book Marvel stuff, or you might see some Dr. Seuss stuff. So if you keep your eyes peeled, I love a good scavenger hunt and theming. I thought that was very neat. That Confisco's may be short for confiscate. You were at a port of entry when you enter Islands of Adventure. I thought that was very neat and a very cool fact to find out that one of the team members who taught us that outside.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And I will stand by your statement as well when we were there that port of entry, other than Hogsmeade, which is new, but like port of entry is by far the best theme land in Islands of Adventure.
Oh, for sure. For sure. You even said like you're going to, because I said the music is great and the theming is great. We had an outside table and I was people watching and looking at all the, the theming and the sets and the music, and you're like, the music might get old fast. And I said, I don't care. I really like just the fact that it's original music, these set pieces. I really enjoyed my lunch. It really simmered me down for my my hot morning, I will say.
Yeah, no, it was great. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It was definitely a nice, like, I'm glad this went well, because had this not, we would have probably just left and gone home.
I would have grabbed the gasoline out of my pocket and the matches, and I would have walked out slowly.
But yeah, so that was basically the trip to Islands of Adventure. We did not do the Hogwarts Express. We ended up walking over to Universal Studios Florida. I have to say that for something I did on my walk around, I screwed up my knee at some point. So after the walk around, we went and hung out on the patio at Mythos real quick, which is really nice. If you ever go back there, you can actually walk back behind Mythos, and you have this just unobstructed view of the entire lagoon and Islands of Adventure, and it's a gorgeous spot. So we hung out there for a minute, and just walking down the stairs into that area, like, I almost fell over and collapsed because my right knee just, like, locked up and did some weird stuff.
To be fair, though, the audience should know that you look great for 89.
Thanks, Pete. So we ended up, I mean, it doesn't sound right, but we ended up walking over to Universal Studios Florida.
It ended up being, it was a not as long as a walk as you would imagine. Yeah. From lunch, you're already in the port of entry. You go past Toothsome's and Hard Rock. It's a quick walk. And you get right into the other park. And we had time to kill anyway, because at this point we had done all the kind of rides we wanted to do. The queues had kind of filled up over 25 minutes, which is, I thought, why would we wait over 25 minutes for a ride we've done already?
Well, that's Pete.
And
so
we
for
only
those
had
who,
the virtual queue for Hagrid.
For those who don't know, so Pete has a magical 20-minute number. So if there's a queue over 20 minutes, that ride does not exist anymore. It is gone. It is off the map. If it's 20 minutes or under, it magically reappears in Pete vision. So as an example, Spider-Man was 25 minutes when we first walked by it. When I did the walk around on the second lap, about an hour after we had first walked by it, it was at 60 minutes. So, doesn't exist anymore.
But 25 was too long, and obviously 60 is non-existent to me.
Yeah, 25 is too long.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, if you're an annual pass holder and you live in the local area, to waste over 20 minutes of your day in a line for something you could do again, or just rope drop. Get to the park early. Like I said, I told a friend here who wants to go tomorrow, I said, I might give it another chance, but if we don't get there an hour before park open, I won't go. Yeah. Because I can get 3 or 4 rides done in the first hour, and then after that, you have to wait more than 20 minutes a line. Yep. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and one thing
again, I'm not saying all people. If you're on vacation, this is a once-in-a-lifetime. 20 minutes might not seem that long, but if you are a pass holder and you live nearby, why would you waste your time in line? It's not. I don't get it. It's not for me. That's all I'm saying. Time is money. So one commodity you never get back.
Totally understand. All right. Well, let's move on into the safety precautions section of our podcast here.
I think this is a good time for you to talk about safety precautions while I walk away for 5 minutes and come back. I'll do it for 2 minutes. How about that?
All right, be back. So at Universal Studios, there were a number of safety precautions. The TVs outside the queues were running a loop explaining social distancing, was explaining hand washing, was explaining wearing masks, and all the things that you needed to do. And in general, it was pretty good. They did a pretty good job at making sure that everything was covered. But there were a number of things that were missed. One of the big ones is if you've watched any theme parks reopening security video or announcement, they always talk about having hand sanitation stations everywhere. And if you go to Disney Springs, there are hand sanitizers all over the place. There's also places for you to wash your hands, like those plastic outside of a porta potty, wash your hand stations. Those are everywhere at Disney Springs. You go to Universal, and just walking around, I don't know that I saw one hand sanitizer station. There were a couple going into certain places, like going into the Starbucks, there was one, and going into the Fountain and Something bar that is in Diagon Alley. We can go get a beer. There was one there. They asked you to do your hand sanitizer there. And all the attractions required you to do hand sanitizer, but it wasn't like an automated thing. It was you got to the end of the queue, and somebody would be there with a jar of hand sanitizer and just squeeze some of it into your hand. I understand it. We had predicted on this podcast that the reason why Universal was going to require hand sanitizer before boarding an attraction was to basically prevent them from needing to clean the ride vehicles after every use, which is exactly what they were doing. The ride vehicles were not being wiped down after use. When we went on Forbidden Journey, my bag was too large to fit in a locker, so we had to do a rider swap, and I stood at the exit of Forbidden Journey for Pete's entire ride while he rode and was able to see people get in and people get off of the ride vehicles. There were, I think, 4 team members on that platform helping the couple of guests that were there come in and out, and not one of those team members were cleaning any of the ride vehicles. So, that's one issue that I had that was a major issue during our trip, is that they required hand sanitizer to get on the ride, but they were doing that in lieu of having to wipe down the ride vehicles and clean them. Which doesn't protect, your arms, doesn't protect your legs, doesn't protect your clothes, doesn't protect anything. If you're not wiping anything down, sure, your hands are fine, but nothing else. And then once you got off the attraction, there were no hand sanitizer stations that we could see to clean your hands right after. So you had to either have brought some, which I did and we ended up using, or go ask a cast member or a team member, I guess. I don't know where you would have gotten those hand sanitizer. Now, they may have changed this since. Like I said at the beginning of this podcast, this is all from our experience on June 3rd during the AP previews. Pete is back. Let's transition back to the 2-shot. So Pete is back. So what I was explaining was basically at the beginning, they have the TVs that were explaining social distancing, the social distancing markers, masks, and all that. Walking through the parks, I didn't see too many social distancing markers. There were a few of them, like outside Universal Studios Florida, the Blues Brothers stage. There were some outside of the Beat Builders area, so that guests knew where to stand during those shows. That was great. There were not really any outside of any of the shops. Like if you've been to Disney Springs, you've seen they've got 3 or 4 of them staggered outside of the door of each individual shop, so you know where to stand. I don't remember seeing any of those outside of any of the shops. There would have just been a cast member telling you to, hey, back up, back up, back up. Inside of Diagon Alley, where I would have actually expected to see more, there were more than normally in the park, but there wasn't.
Which, by the way, did you guys know Diagon Alley is diagonally? What? But I told someone that today. They didn't know either. I swear I'm not the only one. I just found this out from Josh last week. I told someone today. They did not know either. Yeah. They thought it was just a name. It blew my mind.
Yeah, so we were sitting.
Sorry. I'm the home of fun facts here on the show.
We were sitting in Diagon Alley, and I went, "Hey, Pete, did you know that Diagon Alley is diagonally?" And his mind went into this comedic explosion. And on the way out, when we were leaving for the day, there's a billboard for Diagon Alley, and he looked at it, pointed, and went diagonally, because it was spelled out. He could actually see it, and it was hilarious. Man. But Diagon Alley actually had, down the main thoroughfare, there were social distancing markers for groups to stand, and I'm guessing watch the dragon breathe fire. Now, the AP preview days, they weren't doing the fire. They are now. That is, it has since been turned on. And so I'm guessing that's why those markers are there, because that thoroughfare generally packs out to just insane. And so they don't want that happening. So they add social distancing markers there. But most of the park,
why don't they run that fire more often?
I don't know. It's like I don't even know the timing. Is it every 10 minutes?
It is.
I think
minutes? It's more. I think it's between the 15 and 20 minute mark, or maybe it's less. I'm just saying, but it's at least there. But yet on the Mummy, there's so much fire used every minute and a half.
Dude, the Mummy
is all these people pack out just to watch this dragon blow fire, which is probably the same equivalent as the Mummy every 90 seconds.
It's less than that. It's the equivalent of one of the blasts in the treasure chamber in the Mummy, of which there's 7
That's
just in
saying.
That room.
I mean, I know this is a little off topic, but people are going to get bored from all this Universal talk.
We need to write letters to Universal, add more fire.
Why?
More fire.
Why so infrequently? Or whatever.
Yeah, so that, as far as the social distancing markers, that's pretty much the way it was. Once you get into the attractions, this is where it got interesting. They were using the rectangular caution, don't stand here labels. Everything is blue, by the way. We talked about Disney Springs colors being that sort of weird off red tan color. which is it just looks like warning labels everywhere. Universals are blue. They're at least
It's
nicer
just like
to
your
look
mood
at.
when you're at Universal.
Oh, blue, da ba dee da da. So,
I'm blue.
but they at least blended in a little bit. At least I thought you knew they were there, but it wasn't like a giant lime green thing on the sidewalk. That actually kind of looked like it fit a little bit. So that was kind of nice. But going into the attractions, I'll use Kong and Mummy for the examples here. So there were those rectangular stickers that went across the entire queue. So they're about 4 feet wide, and they weren't every 6 feet. They were like every 15 feet. I'm guessing to account for large groups. Because if you've got a large group and they're 6 feet apart, guess what? The back of one group and the front of one group are right next to each other. So it needs to be a bit bigger. The problem, though, which is what we said earlier, was that, especially in the Mummy, there are twists and turns every 5 seconds in that queue. And we kept having, the people in front of us ended up actually telling us when we could go. They kept turning the corner and going, we're going now, so that we could then know we needed to move. Otherwise, you had to keep peeking around corners to figure out, is it time to move? Are we standing here? Are we not standing here? So other than that, it went pretty well. I think the biggest complaint I had was not wiping down the attractions when you clearly could have, and the lack of hand sanitizer stations around the park. Unlike Disney Springs, where, like I said, they've got hand sanitizer and hand washing stations everywhere, I don't think I saw any of them except maybe at the rest areas, which we'll talk about that for a second. So there are rest areas throughout Islands of Adventure and in Universal Studios Florida. At Islands of Adventure, they're using the old Sinbad Theater as a rest area, and then they're using right at the end of Port of Entry. So I guess if you're wearing a mask and you get into the park and immediately need to take a rest, which you probably will because those masks are hellish, it's right there for you. And it's a large space. All these spaces are not small. They're really large. You can spread out. The only issue I think we had in the rest areas was that there are no team members monitoring groups of people, so you can kind of just freely roam with your mask off, which again kind of goes against the whole like, hey, wear a mask in this area that we can monitor you, but go in here, we're not going to monitor you, and feel free to take the mask off. It's a little bit, oxymoronic as far as, or is it the right word? It's a little weird to go in an area, take your mask off, and be around other people unsupervised. Anyway, that's the whole thing. So in Islands of Adventure, it's those two locations. I don't think there's a third. In Universal Studios Florida, they have they're using the Fear Factor Live area as a rest area, and I don't know of the second one. Do you remember where the second one was in Universal Studios Florida?
No, I didn't know there was two in Universal Studios Florida.
Yeah, as I know they were using the Fear Factor area, but I don't think they were doing. I want to say there's another one, but I don't remember what it was. If anybody in the comments knows where the second potential rest area is at Universal Studios Florida, let us know, because I am not so sure. But those I think were great. They were really spread out. You could go in, you could rest. They were shaded. The nice thing about the Fear Factor stage and the Sinbad area is they're completely covered. There's seats. You can go in, you can hang out, you can sit down and take a break. There were only a few people that I saw doing the whole like mask over your nose, or your nose outside the mask thing. Most people were doing what they should have been doing. I think they did pretty well safety wise. Like I said, my big thing is just they're not wiping down the rides, and I really feel like it's not terribly hard to wipe down the rides, because like on the Mummy, the ride vehicle pulled up and we had to touch all of the restraints to lift them up because they were all put down. Because they're boarding every other row, which we'll get into this when we get more into the character shows and attractions. Actually, you know what? Let's just jump into that right now. Let's just jump into characters, shows, and attractions. The Mummy, King Kong, all of these rides, they are boarding every other row, and it's parties together. So like on King Kong, we had our own row. It was just us, nobody in front of us, nobody behind us. The Mummy, we had our own row, nobody in front of us, nobody behind us. It was just us. But there were two issues that I found, particularly on the Mummy. A ride vehicle came in, gates open, we went to board, and apparently there was something wrong with the vehicle.
Nay.
And everybody in line got on, and we were lifting up the restraints and stuff to go sit down, and they're yelling at us to turn around and go back. All of these cast members are wearing masks. It is really hard to hear them. And when safety is concerned, when you're standing at a ride load station, and you can't hear the direction from the team member who may be telling you something you need to do because something is wrong. Maybe the brakes have failed and something's coming in and they're yelling at you, get back, get back, get back. And you can't hear them because of the fact that they're got this mask in front of their mouth can be an issue. And I think that's something that Universal's going to have to figure out. I think Disney's going to have to figure out whether that's you give them a microphone, one of the little like Disney security things that they have at the end of when you leave Magic Kingdom and there's the guys telling you buses this way and the ferries are over here. Those little side pouch microphone things would help. Something like that. That was an issue. So we turn around, we go back behind the thing, new vehicle came up. Again, we had to touch every single lap restraint to lift them up in order to sit down because the rides are only partially full. And so if one person rode in the back or nobody rode in the back, they're all down now. So in order for us to get on, we got to lift them all up. And like I said, they're not wiping them down. Granted, if nobody rode them, there's no reason to wipe it down. However, the same thing could be said if nobody rode it, then it's real easy to wipe down the 3 seats people were in. It's not difficult to take a rag and just kind of real quick, wipe it down, move on. With what we saw as far as queue times and that sort of thing, very easy to do, not an issue. They weren't doing it. Again, it's because I think hand sanitizer was being required. And then, they're just considering that fine. But other than that, I don't think the attractions really were much different. It was just you had to stop, 10 feet from the party in front of you and you get your own vehicle. So like Forbidden Journey, if you're a party of one, you get the entire vehicle to yourself. It's all yours. Other than that, do you have anything to add about the attractions and just the safety situation?
When it comes to safety, when you talked about the hand sanitizer being mandatory, is I just thought that hand sanitizer they put in your hands was just I don't know what they're using. It's a weird consistency where I felt like I had it on my hands for the entire ride. It was like being slimed. And then also I'm sweating because it's hot and humid, so I'm wiping my head. So I just felt like I had sanitizer on my forehead and on the sides of my head and on my hands. And I'm touching the vehicles.
We're there for the first day, and then we obviously looked on Twitter and Instagram and everybody else's feeds. It seemed like it was a mid to light day at Universal. It wasn't completely empty, except for after when it rained, but it wasn't super packed either. Every single day since, I have seen nothing except for people saying online that the parks are ghost towns. There is just nobody there.
Yeah, again, the same friends I met up with today were there yesterday, and they said, Pete, we saw how upset you were, but they're like, we were there on Sunday, which was their actual 30th anniversary of Universal Studios. I thought it was going to be packed, and they said, no, it was pretty empty. Nobody was really here all day. Granted, we had a rough week weather-wise here in Orlando. It has been raining every day.
And raining.
We had tornado warnings.
Yeah. No, there was a legit tornado. Did you see the video?
Monsoons. We had downpours.
Did you see the tornado video?
I didn't see the actual. Was there an actual funnel?
There was an actual funnel, yeah, just up the road from Universal a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, my friends were at the Loop when it happened. Not the Loop. What do you call iDrive area with the tin roof?
Oh, where the Ferris wheel is and the swings over there. The swings of death.
The swings, the eye. You got Yard House tin roof over there.
Yeah.
But they said that over there, the wind was blowing super hard and palm trees were like almost bending over.
Oh, good Lord.
But I didn't see a funnel. I'll have to watch the video.
Yeah, there's absolutely fun. If I can find it.
Is it on Attractions Tube?
No, it's not. I saw it on Twitter. Somebody was staying at one of the nearby hotels and was standing on their balcony filming a tornado, because that's what you should do when a tornado is happening.
Of course. Great move.
Yeah, totally. But so real quick, so let's go back, because this section is character shows and attractions. So we talked about attractions. Let's go backwards one more. We'll talk about shows, and then we'll go backwards again, and we'll talk about characters. So this really should be attractions, shows, and characters, not characters, shows, and attractions. So the shows we kind of briefly spoke about. Most of the shows were actually closed. The Makeup Horror Show was closed. Fear Factor's closed. Shrek is probably the closest to a show that you're gonna get.
Well, that's what bothers me. Well, they close shows with theaters, but Shrek is basically you're sitting in a movie theater that moves.
Right, and it's a show.
And to me, shows would have made the day a little bit better, and they're so easy to space out.
Yeah.
And you're far away from the performers, so like granted they interact with each other, so if they want to wear masks, whatever, but like if you put that Fear Factor theater, I've never seen Fear Factor and I'd love to see it. I've only seen the Halloween Horror Night show 3 or 4 times.
Got it.
But that theater is so big, you could easily space people out.
Yeah.
The new Bourne Stuntacular, they've been working on for months if not years. And now you could finally open it. I don't know how big the theater is, but you could, again, easily space people out.
It's really big.
And especially with the rain this week, it would have been a welcome addition to my visit.
Yeah.
But there's no shows.
Well, now there is. So the horror effects makeup show reopened either today or yesterday. So that's open now, and so you have that to look forward to. Fear Factor's not going to be open for a while. I don't think Fear Factor is going to open just because of the fact that it's guest participation and you have a ton of stuff that you have to touch.
That makes sense.
Gets on your face, all that kind of stuff. So I don't think that's going to open. And then Islands of Adventure lost their show. They had the Sinbad Stunt show, and that went away 2 years ago and has just been an empty theater ever since, which is interesting. Seeing all the stuff in the theater is still there. The sets are still there. They haven't torn anything down. They just shut it down and basically lights off, abandoned, leave it there, which is bizarre. But as far as the shows go, the spacing was great, like Pete said. I think it was actually 3 seats. I don't know if it was 4. It was at least 3. It might have been 4. And like you said, they're about 2 feet apart. So yeah,
there were 4 to my right. So I just
I think between me and the next group there were 3. But if they're 2 feet apart, that makes sense. That's 6 feet, right, between you and everybody else. It was done perfectly. When we entered very slowly, 1 row at a time. We exited very slowly, 1 row at a time. It was very well thought out. It was very well organized. I'm going to go back, not this week, but next week for sure, and do another vlog. We'll do another recap vlog. I may pop by this week just to go look at the merch. The 30th anniversary merchandise is actually really cool. The shirt that they have is this black shirt, and it's got all of the old attraction art on it.
I saw it, yeah.
It's pretty sweet, and I may have to go pick up this
yeah, the mugs were really cool, but I think they sold out.
Oh, did they? And then the annual pass holder magnet and 2 pins released today as well. So
they were today? All right, maybe I'll go back tomorrow.
They were today. So that stuff I definitely want to go back and get as well. Okay, so let's move backwards again. Let's go characters. So this was one thing I thought they did really well. I was really happy to see that the characters were out. You can actually check our Instagram and our TikTok. We released a little video showing some of the character interactions. It was great. So Islands of Adventure in the Marvel area, they built a little stage. They had markings and rope off sections so you couldn't get too close to the stage. You knew where to stand. The first time we walked by, it was Cyclops and Spider-Man up there doing their thing. And then when I did the walk around, it was Rogue and Wolverine, I think it was. And they were out there doing their stuff. In Dr. Seuss, they had the little rope off area, like they throw a rope down on the ground. That's generally what they do for like their stage for the kid shows. They threw the rope down on the ground, and there was the Grinch. There were 2 other Dr. Seuss characters. I don't know who they were. One of them was the Danny DeVito character from whatever that one movie was. I don't remember. And then I've seen video of, they did the Cat in the Hat storytime thing there either today or yesterday up on that same little stage. But they're building up these little stages for the characters. So even though they're far away, they're elevated so you can see them a little bit. And they're allowing you to get as close as whatever the barrier is, and you can take your selfies. And there's markers on the ground, so please stand here, take your selfie, or whatever, and walk away. At Universal Studios Florida, they had, what did they have? They had Dora the Explorer cast out. They had Homer Simpson in the Simpsons RV. They had Marilyn Monroe out, which was the only character without a mask, I noticed. Wolverine, Rogue, and Cyclops, who all normally don't have a face covering, all had masks as part of their costume now. Spider-Man obviously always has a mask.
Beetlejuice did not as well.
And Beetlejuice did not. So Marilyn Monroe and Beetlejuice were the only 2 face characters that I saw that didn't have masks. That being said, Beetlejuice was out. They actually put him up on an elevated stage in front of the Pantages Theater, which is the makeup horror effects show. And that's apparently also the stage they're doing the Marilyn Monroe show on, which we didn't see when we were there, but they're doing that as well. And then they are also doing, I guess this is also a show, they're doing the Beat Builder show is also happening. And they are actually also, they are wearing masks, I think. Were they wearing masks? They were not wearing masks during the show, but after the show, when they came down, they did put masks on. Yeah, so when they came down and got closer to the audience, they put masks on.
Is there a way to see that show?
There is. It comes out tomorrow on Attractions Tube. Oh yeah! Oh man! What a coincidence! So we have the entire show in binaural 3D audio. Out of the park. If I had a bat sound, I'd play the bat sound, but I don't. I have a sound pad here to my left with a bunch of sounds, which here I'll play them for you now as a little side.
Just give me one
because I don't remember what they are. Let's see. Oh, there we go. That kind of would have worked. And then here we go. Oh. And then I know what the other one is because during our Star Wars show, I wanted to have some Star Wars effects.
Most impressive.
So it's Darth Vader saying most impressive. Yeah, I've got a little sound pad here. Anyway, I can change it out. But that's nice to know that I've got if Pete ever tells a bad joke. There we go. We got him. So Beat Builders is coming out tomorrow. That was a fantastic show. I had never actually watched that entire show.
I liked it too. I liked it.
I thought it was really well done. It's kind of like the Janitors, or is that what they're called in Epcot? Because that's what they're called in Disneyland.
Yeah, the Janitors are in Epcot, but they're more strolling guys. They just stop and do a show. These guys have a set.
That's what I'm saying. It's like Janitors on
scaffolding.
on steroids. Like it's.
But again, they have a working set and pre-made stuff.
Yeah, there's also a soundtrack. More like
if you went to the Broadway show Stomp.
Yes, it was very.
They know what they're doing.
Very stompy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was interesting too. There was a couple of sounds they were making that I was like, how are they doing that? So they had like some upside down blue recycle trash cans, and there's clearly a microphone inside this trash can that's tuned to a very specific sound when they hit it, because when they hit it, it sounds like a drum from the 80s, that like doof sound. And so I'm like, wait, but that's it should be going like bonk, badonk, bonk, 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 not doof, doof, doof. So
they also, not to take away from them because they do an amazing job.
Fantastic.
They play, I'm pretty sure, over a track as well.
They do. Well, yeah, yes. So there is definitely some additional drumming, I think, in a track. And then there's clearly a track because there's other instruments that are playing. Yeah. So unless it's Sunny Eclipse's Space Angels also playing around them, like they got a part-time gig while the parks are closed playing for Beat Builders. I don't think so. They're flying to a track. I think that was a fantastic show. And then we had a little surprise. We stopped off at Starbucks because, again, I'm 905 years old and my knee was hurting. And so we stopped off outside Starbucks to go get a coffee. And I don't know why I became from New York all of a sudden. I'm hanging out with you for too much. A coffee and a coffee and a bagel. And the Lagoon all of a sudden started a show. And so the Lagoon show happened, which was welcome and super cool. I can't think of any other shows or characters. I don't think that were out. Are there any that we missed?
There was a few that I saw in other people's photos that we may not have seen, but they were rotating.
I know on Jackie Super Enthused vlog, the Mummy Stiltwalkers were out earlier in the day.
Yeah.
They were not out when we were there, but that's probably because it rained, and so everyone kind of scurried inside.
Again, I'm sure it's kind of hit and miss, and it depends on weather and time of day, because like you mentioned, we went by, one platform where characters were, and for me, it was Spider-Man, and then you saw Rogue an hour later. So
yeah, exactly.
It's going to kind of, I think, be hit and miss.
Oh, and then also over by Dr. Doom's Fearfall, there was Green Goblin, and there was Dr. Doom himself hanging out in that area. So there's a ton of characters out. So that was super fun. I think that was a really good thing that Universal did, is bringing those characters out. Now, here's the most annoying part of the day. So we get through this whole day. It's okay. It's not great. It's hot. We have some fun. And we're coming up on our Hagrid's return time for our virtual queue. And this is another blatant issue with the user experience and the user interface of the Universal app. So Pete gets a notification, and he texts me that shows me a picture of it, basically saying, sorry, reservation's canceled. No reason why, just we cannot accommodate. That's it. Sorry. More or less, like, sorry. Rough, right? You go through the whole day. We're there because we're expecting to be able to get out or get into Hagrid's, and then nothing. So after that, I look on my app and it's still there. And 10 minutes later, so Pete's, yours came in at about 4:10. Your reservation was for 4:20. Mine was at 4:30. Mine came in at about 4:20. So if they knew the ride was down, just send out a notification. Why it's timed to do it 10 minutes before, when we could have already been basically there and waiting and have given up on doing something else. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. I feel like that's an issue that needs to be fixed. Oh, here we go. So here is the message that we got. I don't know if you can see that. I can't focus on it, but it says, our apologies, but this attraction is no longer available at your scheduled virtual line return time. It then says, please use this one-time use express pass at a participating attraction today. Now, getting to that virtual pass, whatever, express pass was a little annoying. Again, you have to click the hamburger menu. It opens up. You click virtual line. You then have to find the attraction that your virtual time was for. Go into that attraction as if you were going to make another virtual return time. Click on it, and then it popped up with, here you go. Here's your free virtual express ticket, which was for you and 3 other people. So that was kind of cool. So party of 4 could have used the one ticket. You know, on a normal day, if it's before 4 and you're not an annual pass holder and don't have, didn't buy an express pass, I think it's totally acceptable. It's totally fine. I don't think the way they're doing it, meaning the timing of it, is fine. I think at 4:10, if they were like, oh, this ride's down, well, just send out a thing saying, hey, guess what? We're canceling the next, 30 minutes of times, not cancel them 10 minutes before your return time is supposed to be. So that I think needs to get fixed. How you get into that message, how you get into the free virtual express needs to be fixed for sure. We'll see if they fix it in the next week or so when I go back for a full day. That being said, Pete, wrap up your thoughts about Universal
Listen, here's the deal, is that no theme park is perfect and no experience is like any other. There's many experiences. 2 people can go to the park and have completely opposite days, and that's what happened with us.
Yep.
Is I am normally the one who says I had the best day ever at the park, and someone else is saying they had the worst day.
Yeah, it was really strange.
It had to be reversed this one time. Were there things that could improve? Absolutely. I was just disheartened. I just came in so optimistic, and I think maybe I should have set more realistic expectations, but I just thought they had all this time to prepare. They had time with their teams. They would know what to say when people asked certain questions. Their ride systems would be better. Like the Hagrid's thing upset me. The food thing, the team members not knowing where to send me for food.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll go back. I'll check it out. I just think that my basic overall look back is, I guess Disney are a bunch of geniuses for letting everyone else go through this and just watching what the crowds say to them and being like, let's make sure this never happens in our parks.
100%. And that's kind of that's what we said as we were leaving, was basically just like, all right, yeah, genius. Disney's a genius. Like, it's a genius move opening a month and a half after, so that there's enough time to analyze, see how it goes, and implement changes based upon your direct competitors' happenings at their parks. And I said, I felt the exact same way Pete did. I was a little bit less angry because I didn't have the food experience with team members directly. I think had I had that experience, that would have definitely made me a little bit more angry. But I was just in the zone of walking and filming and just sort of experiencing everything. So that's
probably more hanger than anything else.
I left going with the thought of like, I don't know if I want to renew my annual pass next year. Just because I think I can get all of this stuff done, all the attractions, experience everything with a Horror Nights pass. Granted, you can't do Islands of Adventure, but you can do Universal Studios, proper. Use the Horror Nights, pass, visit Horror Nights, visit the attractions, and do most of the things that I want to do then, and not pay for the yearly long pass. I have since kind of backtracked that a little bit, and I think if we renew, it'll be... we probably won't get the top tier pass because of the fact that I don't see us going that often. We have a young child who's under 2 years old, so there's not really anything for her to do anyway. And so when we go, it's generally just me going to do something for Attractions Tube. So I may just get a less top tier pass, but we'll see. We'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. I might have the best time ever. Who knows? Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure you check us out on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. We are at AttractionsTube or /AttractionsTube there. We're also on TikTok. Make sure you check out Pete. He is Official Carney on Instagram. Are you not Official Carney on Twitter? Or is it?
I am, but it's like my secondary account that I use it like once a month. I mainly use your WDW guy.
Oh, okay. So we'll change out your Twitter handle there to...
It's fine. But also I would say that if you wanted to see some of our day, there is a really cool vlog on Attractions Tube that just debuted this morning or at noon. Go check that out because you get to see me and Josh hanging out in the parks last Wednesday.
Yeah, all out of focus because the camera was having so many issues. I ordered a new one. It'll be here.
You know, I didn't have issues. The iPhone that I shot on.
It didn't. It did not. And the iPhone that I shot on. It's funny, that vlog is 5 killing yours, 5 different cameras footage.
Wow.
From that day all mixed together. But yeah, we ordered a new camera, so we shouldn't have the autofocus stuff. But you can check out Pete as well. It is his YouTube is Adventures by Carney. He has a super cool video with a bunch of your favorite Disney creators, myself included, because, you know, attractions too. It's a really good video. It's edited so well. The editing is just...
The editing's really good. I don't want to brag, but I was able to teach Josh a lot about editing when we walked through.
So much teaching.
No, Josh is the man. He helped me out. He helped me tremendously with that video. But it came out fantastic, and you should go watch the Disney Creator video.
Yeah, really
if this ever is edited, we should link it somewhere because Josh is in it, and it's fun.
Yeah, we will link it up because it's amazing.
Or in the comments.
It'll be linked in the comments on everything.
Yeah, you get to see Josh answer a bunch of really cool questions.
Yeah, or stumble over answering them because I can't decide what my answers should be. But you'll have to watch it to know more.
Still exciting.
Yep. We'll leave it with that little cliffhanger. All right, everybody. With that, thank you guys again for watching. We'll see you next time.
See you, Cove.